Sound.
Hello there and welcome to Loco for Leeds. It's my channel where we talk all things Leeds United. And today, in anticipation of the weekend's visit of Liverpool, I am delighted to say I'm joined by the Anfield Wrap, Neil. Neil, thank you for joining me, mate. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well indeed, George. I honestly can't wait for the weekend. I'm so excited about going to Elland Road. You know, I remember so many, like when I was about 18, 19, the games at Elland Road are like they're etched into my memory. And trust me, you know, I was at the 4-3 where Viduka scores all four, came out of the ground that day, absolutely furious, livid. And there's so many, like, you know, huge games that stay with you. And the way Elland Road is, you know, I'm quite vocal on our shows. When you were down in the Championship, I was like, well, they can stay there. But now that you're back up, I am, you know, I honestly, it's a long time since there's been an away game, and obviously there's COVID and all that sort of stuff. But honestly, it's a long time since there's been an away game I'm as excited about as Leeds versus Liverpool on Sunday. I want the full Leeds United experience from start to finish.
Well, that's it, innit? Because you'd have missed out on it, Neil, wouldn't you? Last time,
Yeah.
It was obviously a draw. I mean, what are your memories? You know, you picked out a couple there. Obviously, the Duke of 4-3. What a game that was! And do you have any specific memories of Elland Road and Leeds?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of them were unpleasant. We were 18 at the time and going out and coming from Liverpool, and it was fair to say we got a bit of a welcome from the locals here and there. But like the 4-3, the season with the 4-3, and there's also the 2-0 in the FA Cup, the fourth round, and we went on and we won all three cups we were in that season. And the game before the 2-0, like the Leeds game was absolutely massive. You know, the best team in the country were Manchester United. The second best team in the country were, broadly speaking, Arsenal. And then there was Liverpool and Leeds vying for third. And that weekend, it was like, you know, we went through in the League Cup semi-final midweek. And then there was the fourth round of the FA Cup in the January. And obviously in the FA Cup, you get the full ends as well at Elland Road. And it was a dog of a game. So, you know, the 4-3 had been end-to-end and all action, and Viduka being brilliant, and we played really well, and we had hard lines. But Viduka scores 4 goals, so you've got a cop for it, you know.
Yeah.
The 2-0 was this tight game, and, you know, I mean, genuinely all away ends, you know. Both of our sides at the minute play, I think, a really attractive brand of football. But that day, that 2-0, it was not an attractive brand of football. But the flip side is one of the best ways I think you can win a football match is, you know, 2-0, 88th minute and 91st minute goals. Unreal. And 6,000 of us at Elland Road going absolutely berserk and feeling like we were on the march towards something. And that was how it felt then. And you know, being the age that I was, it's... That too, honestly, and it might not be something Leeds supporters want to hear, but the 2-0 at Elland Road genuinely is it's one of the, if not the best away ends I was ever in. It's very, very close to the best away end that there's ever been. And it was because it was Leeds, it was because it was Elland Road, it was because of all of that. You know, the police back then had us kicking off at like 11:15 and all sorts of mad times. And it, you know, going out in Leeds the night before, it all getting a bit out of hand. I don't want all this to sound all a bit daft, but it all getting a bit out of hand, and then getting to go to Elland Road and win that match in that style. Honestly, it's one of the best times I've ever had supporting Liverpool.
Excellent. Well, that's good to hear. Hopefully, you know.
You say that.
Hopefully, you can have a similar kind of experience, you know, because it's great, you know, being back at, you know, Elland Road. It's fantastic, brilliant old school stadium, isn't it? And you know, really, you get the away end, and it'll be packed out on Sunday, won't it? But
it will indeed. You can't get I'm trying to sort a couple of spares at the minute. You can't get a spare for loads of money because everyone is looking forward to it so much. You know, it is a big game, and you know, where Leeds are in general, even where Liverpool are to an extent, you know, Liverpool should finish top 4 this season, you'd say, you know, in general, but we want a title challenge. That's what we want. And there's still a bit of, you know, a little bit of nervousness around that. Depth of squad, couple of injuries, bit of bad luck. All of these things could damage Liverpool. But I think also with Leeds, you know, Leeds a top 10 side, or the a 10th to 15th side. I don't think they're a bottom 5 side. I think they're too good for that. But we'll find it all out over the course of the season. But this one, though, on Sunday just feels absolutely massive. We don't know the answers to any of those questions yet. We'll know them in 10 games' time. But this, you know, it's the only game on Sunday, and it feels like the only night out in town.
It does, doesn't it? It does feel like a huge one. You know, international break's done. which is great. I mean, I'll touch, we've got to touch on the Brazilian saga, obviously, and a bit, but, that's done. Thank God for that. We're back to Premier League football. But it is huge because we haven't won yet. If we don't get anything from this one, we're going in 4 games without a win into Newcastle, which makes that an even bigger game early. But Liverpool, you've just got to keep that momentum going, don't you? With, obviously that draw against Chelsea. I mean, how have you seen Liverpool's start to the season, Neil? What do you make of it?
I think we're attacking really well, and I think that we finished last season, I think, attacking really well as well. We won 8 of the last 10 in our catastrophic season last season. We won 8 of the last 10. We go to Old Trafford and score 4. Yeah. For me, this is a Liverpool side that can back itself and feel as though it's in good nick coming into this. And yeah, they don't attack well against Chelsea, but Chelsea are really, really well organised, and they've got their shape, and also the 10 men that they're sending off just made their minds up for them as to what they were going to do. Liverpool, they don't perform quite as I'd like against Chelsea, but in pre-season, the attacking players all look really sharp. Start of the season, the attacking players have all looked really sharp. And then on top of that, there's the returning defenders. And so far, Van Dijk has managed to look pretty much like his normal self, the player he was before the injury. So I'm really buoyed at the minute by Liverpool in the campaign. Listen, they've got to win at Leeds for me. Not in a sort of a cocky way, just in a, if ultimately you look at the league, the sort of the runs of form sides that have won the title across the last 3 or 4 years have had to go on. Liverpool got 99 points. City got 100 points. There's a season where City get 98 and Liverpool get 97. Yeah, last season City only get 86, but they go 22 games where they win every match at one point in the season in all competitions. Yeah. If you're going to do this, you've got to. You don't have to get 95 points, but you've got to look like you can get 95 points. And to look like you can get 95 points against the sides that'll finish in the bottom 12, you've got to basically win home and away against all of them. And that sounds really, really harsh, and it sounds really, really hard, and it is. You've got room for maybe dropping points in, say, 2 of those games against the bottom 12. That's 24 games. You've got, we've just dropped points against Chelsea. But if you need to get 97 points to win a league, you can only drop points in, for 97, you can only drop 17 points over the course of a season. 114 is the most we can all get. So, Liverpool dropped 2. So, and it sounds mad to say it, but it does. It lessens your room for manoeuvre. And maybe the league won't be like that. Maybe it'll be an 80-point season, but I just don't see it. Going off what we've seen since Leicester won the league, since then every year, Chelsea under Conte, they go on a run where they win 13 consecutive league games. There was a point between Liverpool's 2 seasons, the season where they come second to City and the season they win it, where from their previous 38 league games, they'd won 36. So if you're gonna do this, that's there's that. Now listen, as I say, we could all be wrong, and it might go at 80 points like an old Man United title winning season around when I was talking about that Leeds game around 2001. It might be, it could go to that, but I think ultimately we don't know that yet, and so Sunday is a game that Liverpool will feel like they've got to win before they step foot on the pitch, and we know it'll be a big atmosphere. We know Leeds will be intense. It's going to be a really tough game.
I know, I do. I agree with you actually, Neil. I think you do if you're looking at winning the league. And is that your expectation then? You think you should be winning the league this time? Because obviously you had a disappointment, didn't you, last season by Liverpool's standards? It was a disappointing season, wasn't it? Do you expect to win the league?
I don't expect to win the league, but I want to see a challenge. Yeah. I want Liverpool there or thereabouts with 3 or 4 games to go. Listen, if Liverpool get to 8 games out and we're still in the knockout phase of the Champions League, and Liverpool are 6 points off the pace, and the manager makes a bit of a decision to put his eggs in the win the Champions League basket, then that's a little bit different. You understand that, but in general, I think Liverpool need to be at the business end of either of the 2 major honours that they can win. I think that's what we've got to aim for. It's what we've got to be part of. Things can go wrong in a cup competition, and obviously things can go wrong in a league. As I was saying before, though, Liverpool last season, almost everything that could go wrong does, up to and including the stuff on a personal level with people being bereaved and being unable to grieve because of COVID. But simultaneously, Liverpool still finished 3rd and they get to the quarterfinal of the Champions League. When we see the accounts, and it's funny how football accounts work these days, but when we see the accounts for the season end in 21-22, certainly if Liverpool, do the sort of thing that gets Liverpool's high incentivized contract bonuses paid out, Liverpool will have had in Europe one of the biggest 5 wage bills. Liverpool win the league 21-22. They'll have one of the biggest 5 wage bills in Europe. There'll be the 4 English sides that finish in the Champions League places and Paris Saint-Germain. What that means is you've got to see the money on the pitch. You know, you've got to, and those players themselves are in a win now mentality. You know, they're not. Mo Salah's 29, going on 30. He'll back himself to still be more than good enough to win major honours at the age of 33, given the way he looks after himself and his physique. But he's basically got 4 more goals at winning the Champions League or a league title, or both. You know, he's got 4 more seasons where he's at that level, maybe 5. So he'll want to do it. And I think, you know, you go through that Liverpool squad. Fabinho's 27, Van Dijk's 30, Joel Matip's 30. You know, there's a few lads in there who are, you know, Trent Arnold's 24, absolutely fine. You know, he's got 10 more years of this. But, you know, Henderson's 31. Henderson wants to, which I'm sure he's desperate to do, lift another major honour as Liverpool captain. He's got 3 years left to do it in, possibly, maybe 4. He's got his new deal. But this is it. It's now or never in a lot of ways for these players, and they're paid well enough, and the quality's there. So that should be the aim. That's not to say that, you know, if they finish second in the league and get to the final of the Champions League and get beat 2-1 by Real Madrid, they've failed. That's not the same as saying that, but it's saying that the aim's got to be in the business, to be in the absolute business end of either of the major honours, and ideally be walking away with the trophy for one.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's Liverpool. That's, you know, it's a big club, in it. That's what you're after, trophies, isn't it? And I was going to ask you, Neil, about your transfer business. You know, you're saying that the squad's aging, isn't it? You know, and you don't seem to be putting any money into the, you know, like Mane, Salah, you know, Firmino. Like you say, they're getting older, and they're not really seem to be replacing them, are they? I mean, what are your thoughts on the transfer business, and sort of where do you see the team in a few years' time?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things on that. I think that they do Jota and Thiago and Tsimikas last summer, and all 3 of them look like they can play a role this season. Jota had an extended injury last season. Thiago doesn't really get going until Christmas, and Thiago replaces Wijnaldum in Liverpool's squad. There's a little bit of a problem around, for me, Liverpool just don't have, and I'm only talking here, I'd like to have seen them do a couple more in the summer just gone. Lads aged between 21 and 24, 21 and 25, who can not have to be key players right now, but who've got really high ceilings, who've got a good level of football that they can hit. I'd like to have seen another couple of them come in and just add to the squad in the short term, be backups, but have a key role to play in 2 or 3 years' time. Now, Liverpool have chosen not to go down that path, and I'm sure internally they'll have their reasons. But it does mean that at some point, rather than do 2 a summer, you know, Konate has come in. So rather than do 2 or 3 a summer, at some point Liverpool might have to do a summer where they do 4 or 5. That's fraught with a bit more risk, both financially and also in terms of the playing talent that you're getting in. It only takes 2 of them to just find it hard, flop a little bit. You can snooker yourself a tiny amount. So it's a very mild concern. I don't think it impacts, like, for me, there wasn't a transfer they could have made as we get closer and closer to the window closing. It felt less and less likely there was a transfer Liverpool could make that would have made me feel they were significantly more likely to end the season as European or domestic champions. You know, there was nothing obvious there that you could have done that where I felt we were screaming out for. But yeah, there is going to have to be a little bit of renovation of this squad in either next summer or the summer after, or ideally both, to spread it out a little bit. I think that's what they're going to have to do. So it would have been nice to have seen a bit more. Konate looks the part. But so far, he can't get in because Liverpool are playing Joel Matip and Virgil van Dijk, and Joel Matip and Virgil van Dijk are really good, and that does show you the flip side of Bayern lads who are 21. It's great for me to say buy them, but if they're not going to get picked, then they're not going to develop.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Yeah. So, you know, you can't shift those 2 at the moment, can you, Matip and Van Dijk, because the elite level, aren't they, really?
I'd be amazed if they don't start at Elland Road. I think I could be wrong, but I really would expect the pair of them to start at Elland Road, but then from there, Matip, you know, he's had his injuries in the past, so firstly he might get a knock, but also secondly he can't be expected to play 3 games a week when the European games come back. So there will be chances for Gomez and Konate to get into this side, but ultimately, you know, you've got to go with what's brought Liverpool so far this season, and that has been Matip and Van Dijk, and that's what as I say, unless there's some injury thing that we don't know about, I'd be amazed if he doesn't do that on in the game against Leeds.
Yeah, because he got a knock, didn't he, Van Dijk, for Holland, didn't he? But yeah, he should be all right, I think.
He should be all right, yeah.
I think he will be. But, you know, that leads me into sort of the international situation, Neil, and we've got to talk about it. The Brazil, you know, the situation, it affects both teams. I mean, what is your take on this situation.
I'm really frustrated by it. The lack of common sense to me is, the players would have had to isolate coming back. So for us, there's every chance it would have led to the footballers missing up to 3 or maybe even 4 games, given when our League Cup game falls. I think for Leeds it would have been missing 2. But also within that, not being able to work with the teammates. The very thing that would have happened was they would have had to, in the end, the Argentinian players have done something a little bit clever, but they've gone to Croatia so that they can do proper training for a period and eat well and all of that. But that's not the same as working with your teammates on the training field every day, working on shape, the players you play with. And from your manager how important team shape is. He's obsessed with team shape. So, you need, he'd want to have his players where he can see them. So it was, for me, it just feels like one of these things where everyone's cruising for a fight for reasons that I don't entirely understand. And the people who end up being punished ultimately are going to be the footballers and, to an extent, the punters, the fans. We're not getting to watch our best players. Yeah. And to me, it's just it all feels a little bit contrived that everyone's decided there's going to be a bit of a row here, so therefore there has to be the row. The players are the ones who are stuck in the middle of it. And I don't want players to have to choose between club and country. I really don't. Listen, Liverpool supporters' attitude towards England and international football in general is what it is. And, I'm pretty much in that camp, broadly speaking, and I'm happy enough in there. But that doesn't mean that all the footballers are. That doesn't mean that, Firmino, Rafinha, Fabinho, Alisson Becker all don't want to go and play for Brazil, and that we should say, well, that's not, we shouldn't be able to, we should, I wouldn't want to block them playing for Brazil. But in this circumstance, they're based where they're based. They're based in England. They're based in the United Kingdom. So the quarantine is here. This is where the job is. So for now, you've just got to give it a couple of months. And as I say, I feel like everyone's spoiling for a fight, and it's a real shame.
Yeah, it is. It is a real shame. I mean, it was Rafinha's. It would have been his first. It was his first call up. And he decided to stay in England because he wanted to play on the weekend against Liverpool. And chairman's come out and he said he showed great loyalty to Leeds. He wants to stay and play against Liverpool. And now he's being punished because he might not be able to play. And it's ridiculous, really. And like you said, it's getting players to choose between: do you want to play for your club or do you want to play for your country in this kind of climate? It's ridiculous. But what do you make of the Leeds team? Moving on to Leeds now, what have you made of Leeds? Back in the Premier League last season, and early knockings of this season.
Last season, I felt Leeds did better than I expected, to be honest. Not in a patronising way. I felt like the step up in intensity would play in the way Leeds play might have, a Premier League level, Premier League pace might have caught Leeds out a little bit. And it was quite clear from about sort of 7 or 8 games in that was completely wrong. Leeds start the season, I think, particularly impressively. That's not to say they go off the boil. I actually don't think they do. I think they finished the season pretty strongly. But one of the things that happens last season is Leeds are the only team who were playing like Leeds, with the absence of crowds, with where players' fitness was, with the other stuff that was going on. My mild concern where I Leeds supporter this season would be the other teams aren't going to be as lacking in intensity as they were this last season, with crowds back, all of that sort of stuff. So the novelty factor will still be there to an extent. But the other thing that's also happened is everyone's now played Leeds twice. So everyone's got there's so many analysts of football clubs now, but analysts I think are important, but there's nothing quite like lived experience. So those footballers who are all smart fellas where football's concerned, they wouldn't be where they were, players up and down the country. They now know this is how Leeds pressure. This is how they work here. But they now know, well, if you drop your shoulder here, you can maybe get yourself a little bit of space and you can get away from someone. And I think it might be a little bit tougher this season at times for Leeds, solely because the novelty factor's sort of gone a little bit. And I think other teams are gonna step up in terms of their own intensity. That's not, as I say, that's not to say for a second. I'd be surprised if Leeds finished below 12th. But I think there might be a couple of games this season where sides that last season looked a bit shocked by Leeds, that looked a little bit stunned at times. I think firstly, they'll be playing in more intense games week in, week out against everybody. But secondly, they'll now know, this is the strength of Calvin Phillips. It's not a surprise. This is what Luke Ayling's good at. It's not a surprise. This is the way Bamford moves. And when he goes into the channels, he's looking to bring this player into play. It's not a surprise. So I think it might be a little bit tougher for Leeds. But I think the transfer business, I think, is dead interesting because James is a real grafter with a ton of pace. And I think there's a natural little move here where I think Rafinha is going to end up playing really central week in, week out.
Yeah, but that's what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that could suit Leeds down to the ground, and I think that could make them genuinely. I don't think it'll happen. I don't think it'll happen against Liverpool necessarily. I think it might begin to happen against Newcastle, but presuming Rafinha can be picked, obviously. But I think it'll happen against Newcastle. I think they'll work towards it, but I think that's what he'll want is to say, all right, what's a bit different this year? Well, what's different this year is the lad who played off the flank, but he was a bit like a number 10, is now a pure number 10. But you know what he does? He works as hard as any other player on the pitch, and that's what I think they'll be looking for.
Well, that's it. I think you're right, Neil. He is. There is talk about moving Rafinha into number 10, and to be honest, I think that'll elevate Rodrigo's game as well, because we haven't seen the best of him. We paid 30 million for him, hasn't really hit the ground running, and I think that'll elevate his game. James is a great buy for me. He's got pace. He's, like you say, he's a grafter. He'll work. And we did some good business in the transfer window. There was a lot of fans that weren't so happy with it. We weren't buying in, loads of players, but we pinpointed what we needed and we got it in the end. And that's what you've got to be, particularly when we've seen Leeds in the past spend money and spend money and spend money and end up in League One. So we need to be smart and just and take the pinpoint each position that we need and just add bits of quality here and there to the squad. But you mentioned the fans, Neil. Obviously, have you been into Anfield since you're allowed? Have you been this season at all?
Yeah, I was at Chelsea. So I actually had COVID for Burnley, so it was somewhat upsetting not to be able to get to the first one back. So full recovery, all okay. You've got to look after other people, so it was isolating away. But yeah, for Chelsea, I was back, and it was tremendous. It really was. It helped. It was a big game. Everyone was fully invested. But it's what football needs. For me, it was at times it was hard last year. It really was. It might have felt a little bit different for Leeds supporters seeing Leeds playing back up against Premier League talent. But I think even by the end of the season, to generalise wildly, I think everyone was just a bit sick of it. I think it had become this slog, and and the games were so relentless, and then the idea that they all had to be spaced out so that for telly, which sort of removed the novelty a little bit of watching top flight football. Chelsea was just electric. It was electric, and we don't win the game, and that's a shame. You'd always prefer to see your team win. Obviously, it's the obvious thing to say, but it was still, I came out to that ground just feeling great about it, feeling great that we're back, and I want the same thing I was saying before. I want the same thing on Sunday. I want Elland Road to be the full Elland Road experience. I hope it pours down. I hope it's absolutely the brutalist masterpiece on the edge of the motorway that it is. I want the full hit, because this is what we've missed out on. We've missed out on those tribal elements.
Of course, we all miss, and for Leeds fans, Neil, first Premier League season for 16 years, and we couldn't go, and it was such a shame, because we played like we did, and I'd often think if the fans, if the fans are in there, would some of the games have gone the way they did? Because as I'm sure it is at Anfield at times, it can be a little bit toxic if the team aren't playing up to the standard of the fans' expectations. And sometimes, I've been in Elland Road where it gets a little bit, edgy, and you can feel the players, really, getting a bit panicked by the situation. But it does the fans really make a difference. And I think, I'm a little bit sceptical about this game with Liverpool, Neil, but I think the one thing that we've got on our side, obviously, is the fans. And I think, they'll really create a brilliant atmosphere there on Sunday. You'll have a great day. I'm sure you will. And it'll be, hopefully you won't have too much of a good day with the result.
No, but it will be great, and I think we've also got certainly for the first half of this season. Listen, the business end of the season is the business end of the season, and the way humans are, we grow used to things. But I think for the first 10, 15 games back, certainly for a half four on a Sunday on the telly with the nation's eyes on, everyone should cherish every minute of it, no matter what the result is, no matter what the scoreline is. The other thing that I think we do take for granted at times, no matter who we support, but I think certainly when you're looking at the quality of footballer, the quality of coach that's on display on Sunday, without it being all hands across the M62, we're watching some of the best footballers in the world here, and we from a Leeds point of view, there's been many a year where the best footballers in the world haven't been coming to Elland Road, and that there hasn't been enough Leeds players themselves who are in amongst that. But that's, it's a little bit different now. Rafinha, as an example, is he's a hot quantity. Diego Llorente looks to me like a really good centre back.
Yeah.
There's enough in there where these are some of the best people in the world at what they do, and we take that for granted sometimes. And obviously Liverpool have got a number of excellent players, and they're going to be at Elland Road on Sunday. So I just hope everyone who's there really does get to enjoy it, because we haven't had it for so long. So no, Sunday should be fabulous. I'm optimistic about Liverpool getting the results, being hard fought. I think it'll be hard fought. I'm optimistic about Liverpool getting the result in a big atmosphere that we can all enjoy. I think Liverpool can get that result. As I say, I don't think it'll be easy, and I think Leeds are the sort of side that make you work for everything that you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be quite an attacking match, Neil, won't it? Really, we saw from the 4-3 game, didn't we? And it was end to end, lots of chances. Some good goals in there as well. And I think it'll all be because you've got a few injuries as well, haven't you? So who do you think will be in the team come Sunday? Obviously, Alisson and Fabinho look like they're not going to play. Who's going to come in there, do you think?
I think if it's not Alisson, it'll be Kelleher, the Irish keeper. Yeah. He'll get his opportunity, and he'll also get the League Cup game. That's what I'd expect. I think the defence will be the first choice defence. He may rest Robertson for the game against Milan, but I think he'll play him against Leeds. So I think it'll be Robertson left back, Arnold right back, and then Van Dijk and Matip in the half of that defence. If he can't play Fabinho, he'll definitely play Jordan Henderson as the deepest of the midfielders. I think even if Henderson plays, even if Fabinho can play, so if that situation gets resolved, Henderson will still start. And then I think Thiago will start for certain. So if Fabinho can start, it'll be Henderson, Fabinho and Thiago. If Fabinho can't start, it'll be Henderson, Thiago. And I've got a sneaking suspicion he might give Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain an hour and give him a little run, because I think if there's space to move into in an attacking game, I think it'll suit Chamberlain. And then Liverpool's front three will pick itself no matter what happens. It'll be Salah off the right, Mane off the left, and Diogo Jota through the middle. Firmino is injured. And then Liverpool will have a few midfield options. Harvey Elliott will be on the bench. I think Milner will be on the bench if he proves his fitness, and hopefully he gets to run out at Elland Road one more time. Within that as well, I think if Chamberlain doesn't play, there'll be someone else, but Curtis Jones can be on the bench, and Shimaka's will be on the bench. Liverpool centre backs will be there as well, and they'll try and get one more attacking option, I think, on that bench, and that's what I'd expect from Liverpool. So there's still a lot of strength there, I'd say, and I think that they'll be backing themselves to be able to exploit the gaps that Leeds leave when they are really aggressive.
Well, that's it, because we do leave a lot of gaps, Neil, don't we? While we're attacking, we kind of attack as a team and almost to a point defend it as a team, but particularly down the wings. Ayling in particular, he's pivotal to a lot of attacks. But who do you see as a danger in the Leeds side who can cause you some problems on Sunday? Obviously, presuming Raphinha's not playing.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a host of players. Bamford's movement, I thought, was excellent at times last season. I think Click's edge of the box shooting is a constant threat and danger. I really liked Harrison whenever I saw him. I felt with Harrison, and it happens to attacking players, I felt he would dip in and out of games. Yeah. And I often felt like, come 55, 60, with the pace he has to go at, I think at times he looked a little bit diminished. Yeah. I think Ayling's a lovely player. I really do.
He's a great player, is Ayling. He really is. But like I said, sometimes he does leave us a bit open at the back because he loves to attack. But he's a fantastic player. For me, I know maybe I'm a little bit biased, Neil, but I think he might be knocking on the door for England if there wasn't so much options for that position, really.
No, I agree with that. I think that's really fair. I think the England having that number of quality right backs. The fellow who plays right back for Man United, for instance, isn't even discussed. Went for 60 million quid as an England right back. He's not even in the conversation, and that's it's testament, I think, to the talent that's there. But I do think he's an excellent player. I really do. And then within that, I thought that all the way through last season in a quite, I think quite low key way, apart from the obvious big moments, I thought Dallas he's just so involved in football matches. You can't keep him out the action. And a lot of people really, really like Phillips, and I think he's excellent as well. But I think he's got more of a he gets to play the big passes. He gets to fill the gaps. He's quite, for a centre midfielder, he's quite spectacular. Whereas Dallas is just this relentless force through games at times, where he bends them to his will a little bit with his hard running and his, vertical running and incisive passing. So I like Dallas as well. I think there's a number of good players there. These lads did not finish. I think at times we rightly give managers a lot of credit. We should do, and especially coaches who are as inspirational as Bielsa and Klopp. But it still takes the 11 lads to go and do it. They've still got to do the graft.
Of course. So I as a fan, coming up from the Championship, Neil, I thought, can the lads like Ayling and Dallas and and Click even, and a few more lads, can they make the step up to the Premier League? But there were games at times where we got beaten comprehensively, but generally they look, like you said, we didn't finish ninth for no reason. The boys did the part on the pitch, and I think we surprised a lot of people. The likes of Dallas and Ayling, in particular, are household names, and Premier League fans now know the names and are very impressed by them. I mean, Dallas. The thing is, and it's a bit like Liverpool, really. We need to start now bringing up some youth players, bringing some younger players into the team, because those lads are approaching 30. I think Ayling is 30. Some of the lads are 30, late 20s, early 30s. So it needs a bit of freshening up. But generally, I think we've got a good mix of sort of youth and experience. And it's, I expect us, I think we'll not do as well as last season, but I do think we'll around 12, I think, 12, 13. Which is fine for me, I'm not expecting. I expected that last season, to be fair. So, and I was well happy with how we finished. So, all in all, I think we'll do all right. We'll be okay. I think there has been a little bit of nervousness about how we've started, but it's for me. We've got 2 points. It's not so bad. A game against Liverpool coming up. That's a great game to get back into it, isn't it? So, just finally, what's your score prediction for this one?
So I think it'll follow the pattern of last season. But given the fact that I feel like Liverpool are playing a little better, I think they'll get the key goal in the game. So, last season I thought it was a really good contest at Elland Road. It was intense. Both sides went at it back and forth. I thought Liverpool got on top, went one up. And Leeds came back at them, as you'd expect, but Liverpool had 2 or 3 chances on the break to make it 2, and they don't quite do it. I think it'll follow a very similar pattern, but I'm hopeful this time Liverpool turn 1-0 into 2-0. And Leeds, still impress, still push Liverpool into the final whistle, but I feel like the game, to me, feels a little bit like, Leeds United 0, Liverpool 2. I think Liverpool are in slightly better nick than they were then. Leeds might be currently in slightly worse nick because the way the summer's gone and all that sort of stuff. So I'm confident that that Liverpool can just about do it. But I still think that all the hard work that Liverpool had to do last season to get to 1-0, and then, which they don't capitalise on, because they do have 2 or 3 really good opportunities. They don't even get a shot away on a couple of them. 2 or 3 really good opportunities where they're running at Leeds 3v3, and they just don't build the attack properly. I think at the minute they'll build the attack properly, and I think as I say, it'll be a really hard-fought encounter. Don't get me wrong. I think Liverpool have to graft for it every step of the way, but I feel as though they'll win it 2-0.
Fair enough, Neil. Yeah, I think, to be fair, maybe probably going to go for about the same. Maybe we might score. I think I'll go 2-1. I think to Liverpool. I think it will be a good game. It'll be a close one, I think. And yeah, but anyway, but thank you very much for joining me anyway, Neil.
It's been a pleasure
today, and enjoy the game. Enjoy your day on Sunday, and yeah, hopefully though the result will come. The points will stay in Leeds on Sunday.
Cheers, George.
Thanks a lot, mate.
All the best.
You too.